How's it going guys, Kris here, and welcome to another Battlefield 5 gun guide. Today I'm going to be putting the Type 99 under the spotlight, a Japanese bolt-action rifle that came along in the War in the Pacific update, and can now be used by the Recon class as a primary weapon. So the year is 1939. Up until this point, the Japanese have been pretty content with using their Type 38 rifles for the past 30 odd years. But although it was a fairly reliable and popular weapon, even seen in action with the British Army, the Type 38 wasn't quite up to par with some of the newer weaponry being manufactured by other nations in the late 1930s, as it still utilised a weaker cartridge, and was therefore outclassed by a lot of other guns that had more power and range. So to keep up with the times, a new updated rifle with a higher caliber was born to replace the Type 38, made for the Imperial Japanese Army. This rifle of course being the Type 99 Arisaka, chambered for a new 7.7mm round designed especially for the gun. It was mechanically a very similar rifle to the one it was designed to replace, apart from it firing those stronger shots and generally being a tad shorter and lighter too, making it a bit easier to move around with on the battlefield. And pretty much as soon as manufacturing started, the Type 99 was put into service, and was put into the hands of Japanese soldiers. With the sudden outbreak of the Pacific War, not enough Type 99 rifles were made to cater for such a vast army, so they had to be issued alongside those older Type 38 rifles as well, meaning they didn't entirely replace them. As the war raged on, demand for weaponry grew, and with there being a lack of raw materials, production had to be sped up by essentially cutting corners, which led to much lower quality products being put out as time went on. These last-ditch models were crudely made and very simplistic, with production ending in 1945, along with the Second World War. And despite originally being a well-designed bolt-action rifle, the Type 99's reputation was spoiled due to shortcomings created by the war itself. But anyway, time to get those stats up. The Type 99's got a decent maximum damage figure of 75, but this starts to drop off at the early range of 20 meters, and the damage is going to continue to drop off until your bullet reaches the 60 meter mark, where it'll inflict the gun's minimum damage of 60. So the Type 99 generally packs a little bit more punch than a few of the other bolt-action rifles in shorter ranges, but it deals a pretty standard sort of damage further away, allowing it to kill in 2 bullets over all ranges, or 1 if you can plant one of those bullets into your opponent's head, which is always the best thing to do whenever you can, to ensure the other guy's going to go down with no questions asked. This extra close range damage might come in handy for finishing off an already weakened target, with it dealing 10 damage more than the likes of the Lee Enfield and Ross rifles, and 15 damage more than the Krag-Jorgensen. But don't be fooled into thinking that this is going to make it a better rifle for playing aggressively with, because the Type 99 is held back slightly for offensive play due to its less impressive fire rate of 58 RPM. Not the slowest, but not exactly very rapid either, matching up with the Gewehr M95. Just like with a lot of other recon weapons, the Type 99 does have access to that machine bolt specialization, increasing fire rate up to about 67 RPM. So this is going to make it seem a little bit more competitive within close to medium ranges, by slightly decreasing the weapon's time to kill. For longer range sniping, the Type 99 doesn't particularly do anything amazing in the power department, but within those earlier distances, that slightly stronger than average shot just might help you take down some players a little bit more reliably. Moving over to the recoil pattern next, the Type 99's got a horizontal value of 0.1, which is pretty normal for bolt-action rifles, though it's got a vertical recoil of 3.2, the same as the Gewehr M95. This upwards kick probably won't make a drastic difference if you're using longer ranged optics, as you'll need to unscope to cycle the bolt anyway after every shot. Though it might seem a bit more noticeable if you're using iron sights, and in this case, that upwards recoil isn't too bad, but it's still not as stable as a few of the other rifles, being higher than the Lee Enfield, but lower than the Kar 98K. Probably the more important factor to determine the weapon's accuracy and ease of use is of course muzzle velocity. The Type 99's got a bullet speed of 600 meters per second. Not exactly anything to go wild about, as it's sort of in the middle of the bunch regarding muzzle velocities. So it should seem fine in most cases, especially within close to medium ranges, though its bullets certainly aren't the fastest, with the likes of the Kar 98K and Krag-Jorgensen both having higher velocities. So if you're aiming at a target wandering around far into the distance, you're probably going to have to lead their movements a bit more if you want to get those bullets to land. If you're going for headshots on stationary targets, which you probably should be doing whenever you can, then this muzzle velocity won't really make a lot of difference. And as far as precision goes, the Type 99 doesn't really have any sort of special stats over the others. It can do what it needs to do quite well, though just like with all bolt-action rifles, it's best to pick the right optics depending on your intended engagement range. The Type 99 is pretty similar to a lot of the other recon class bolt-action rifles, in the sense that it's a clip-fed weapon with a 5-round capacity. Most of the others also only hold up to 5 shots at a time, so I guess this is pretty normal, meaning you'll be able to take down a couple of enemies with body shots, and potentially more if you aim for the noggin. It's still not exactly a hell of a lot of bullets though, so you can't really go mad with the gun behind enemy lines, as you'll likely get caught out if you get surrounded, which is typical for most bolt-action rifles, somewhat reducing their offensive capabilities over other weapons, thus limiting their use for aggressive play. And in the Type 99's case, this isn't really different to most of the other recon guns. Reloads are fairly standard, with it taking between 3.46 to 4.96 seconds to perform a tactical reload, replacing 1 to 4 bullets. And a full 5-round clip reload is generally going to shave off a little bit more time, taking about 3.76 seconds to slot in. Nothing too flashy, as it's going to function a bit like the other bolt actions, and the Type 99 has access to the quick reload specialization to speed up those times by 15%, helping them to be a bit more competitive. Though unlike quite a few of the other bolt action rifles, the Type 99's longer range scope is actually offset to the side of the gun's frame, basically meaning that it's not going to be covering the top of that receiver. So you can equip any optics you'd like, without having to worry about it lengthening those empty reloads, which is definitely a nice little bonus if you prefer to use long range scopes. So let's talk about those specializations. First off, we've got quick aim on the left and quick reload on the right, two options which are going to affect the gun's reliability. With the Type 99 only having a 5-round capacity, and with its reload sometimes getting in the way of you being able to finish off enemies, I normally prefer to use quick reload to speed up those times a bit, and make it feel a bit more manageable to use. Quick aim might be useful for snapping to targets faster in between shots, though it usually seems fine enough as it is in most situations, which is why I like to get those quicker reloads instead. Further down the spectrum, we can find the custom and light and stock options on the left, helping to increase movement speed and accuracy whilst aiming down sights, and we've got slings and swivels with the machine bolt specs on the right, increasing the fire rate and decreasing the deploy time. With the Type 99 only having 5 shots, you'll often have to rely on your sidearm, making slings and swivels a pretty good choice, especially whenever you get caught out in TQC. The machine bolt spec, giving you that little fire rate boost, should also help to make the weapon a tad more aggressive, which might help to complement that decent close range damage quite nicely. I find that this path suits the Type 99 a bit better for my playstyle, though you might prefer to run down the other side instead if you tend to strafe around a lot to get on target. As for the last two specializations, you can choose to equip either a bayonet or use the variable zero-in option. Because I can never be bothered to use the zero-in option, I personally go with the bayonet, which might be a bit more useful if you come across someone within a short sight line that needs taken down quickly. Not to mention that this will also allow you to replicate those banzai charges with the Arisaka rifle, a pretty common tactic used by the Japanese during the Pacific War, so it kinda makes sense to put that bayonet on there. So in conclusion, the Type 99 kind of functions quite similarly to a few of the other rifles in the game, boasting some decent close to mid-range damage, but not particularly having very snappy 2-shot kill times, or doing anything really special regarding its use for long-distance sniping. It generally has a lot in common with the others, and can still therefore wipe the smile off anyone's face if you can get those bullets to hit them in the head. And with it having its longer ranged optics mounted on the side of the receiver, leaving the top of the gun open, this also means that you won't have to fumble around with individual cartridges if you're all out of shots, allowing you to perform those 5-round clip reloads without that scope getting in the way. This could potentially help to cut down vulnerability time, though despite this nice little feature, the gun's reloads aren't really anything too special at the end of the day, as tactical and clip reloads are fairly normal in comparison to other clip-fed bolt-action rifles. The Type 99's muzzle velocity is a little bit faster than the Enfield's, but slower than the Kar 98K and Krag Jorgensen, sort of putting it somewhere in the middle of the bunch, thus making it a good contender for mid-range fights, but maybe slightly less so for sniping players running around on the other side of the map. And because the Type 99's long-range damage isn't really anything amazing, it's going to seem like a pretty bog-standard gun for the average sniper, catering fine enough over most distances, but not particularly excelling when you're taking on players far away. I guess the gun stats do give it a slight edge against players within shorter sight lines, possibly making it feel somewhat aggressive in some cases. Though it's still not exactly the most offensive rifle in the class, having a lower than average fire rate and a limited ammo capacity. With that said, the Type 99 should fare well over any range, but just don't expect it to do anything remarkably different or anything particularly impressive if you choose to use it instead of one of the others, being a fairly average weapon overall without any massive strengths or weaknesses. So that's it for another one, folks. Hope you enjoyed the guide and found it useful. If you did, give me a like to show your support, and make sure you subscribe and allow notifications to be the first to see new videos coming up soon. Thanks for watching and take it easy. I'll be seeing you in that next episode.